Yesterday we had a bit of technical difficulties with the sound. Fingers crossed that's not happening today. But if you can't hear what I'm saying, please message into the show or text Tanner to let us know that we've messed up on the audio, but we think we've worked out the bugs. Before we get started, we're going to start this off the exact same way. I'm going to thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. It blows my mind how many people are tuning in every day. It's getting bigger and bigger. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate it. Now, Tanner, hit him with the intro.
Oh, me nerves, it's about time we started. This here's the Mac City Morning Show.
All right, there we go. So as per usual, I am not going to introduce the guests because they always do a much better job at saying who they are versus me. So without further ado, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks.
And can you please introduce yourself to the lovely people at home? Who are you? What do you do? What's your deal?
I'm Crystal Mercredi, and I'm the photographer behind Life and Portraits. So I specialize in headshots, corporate branding, and marketing images.
Awesome, awesome. Now, I would say you're probably the most sought after photographer in town in regards to portraits. Like, you do a lot of portraits of a lot of like pretty high up individuals in this community.
Thank you. I really love what I do. I've been at it for quite a while, and I specialize, which I think helps in that regard, because my branding really isn't about, I don't do family photography and everything. I really am passionate about getting Fort McMurray seen for the amazing businesses and individuals we have here.
Yeah.
So I love the headshot piece and helping people find that image to share who they are and what their own messaging is.
Right, right. Now, in regards to photography, how did you get into this? Because like it's for most people, it's a hobby that they love to do, and not a lot of people are able to make that like a career. But you've made it a career. So how did it all start?
Yeah, so I feel very lucky, and Fort McMurray has more support than anywhere in the world, I'm sure. So I think that that's a big reason why I've been able to make this a successful career. I have a few stepping stones, I guess, along the way. I've always kind of had a camera with me. Looking back, I see that, but I didn't realize it at first. I took communication technology in high school, so like Tanner, I actually have some experience in high school helping me come into this. So I have a Bachelor of Education. I was a teacher. That's what brought me to this region. But before that, I actually started in journalism. And so I did a little bit of journalistic photography in college. And then when I went to university, I was too poor to develop film because that's how old I am.
Okay.
And so I had a camera and I would take pictures, but I couldn't afford to get it developed, and then eventually couldn't afford to buy more film, and kind of lost it for a while. And then after I had my first child, I think I was on our third professional photo shoot. She was 6 months old, and my husband was like, "Don't you know how to use a camera?" Mm-hmm. And so he bought me one for Valentine's Day, exactly 10 years ago. So we're coming up to 10 years since I've had my first digital DSLR. And it turns out I did not know how to use it as well as I thought I did.
Right, yeah.
So as an artist, one of the things that you see is, I think the better you get, the more you realize how much you have to learn. Mm-hmm. I love photography because I really am a passionate learner. I love learning, and photography is something where you are always learning, and you always feel like there's so much you don't know. And the more you find out, you don't know.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's been that awesome journey of just getting to enjoy the journey of learning. Like, I love learning, and I say still, like, I learn something new every headshot session. Every person teaches me something about people, about connection, about how light falls on a certain feature. I always am learning something. So it's that awesome opportunity to feel like my brain still gets to work, because I really jumped into photography when I was on maternity leave, and it was the first break I have had from working since I was 11 years old. I've had a full-time job in the summer, babysitting and working summer camps and working at restaurants my whole life, and teaching. And then suddenly I went on mat leave and I didn't have a job. And I didn't know what to do because this baby sleeps. And then what do you do when the baby's sleeping? And I am not really stimulated by the idea of cleaning my kitchen again. So I needed to find something for myself. And I didn't have hobbies that I was super passionate about. And so when I got that camera, it gave me that opportunity to see the world through that lens. And I loved being able to save all these moments of my daughter, So it transferred into headshot photography when my youngest was born 3 years ago, and NABA actually contacted me to ask me if I would shoot their headshots for their board, because they could never get their board members all in the same room at the same time. And if they could come to the studio at their convenience, that would work a lot better for them. And I realized all this time that I had spent learning about posing and lighting and styling that I wasn't really able to use on family photography as much, because toddlers are not going to listen to the way the light falls on their face.
Yeah. They have them onto their own.
Right, but adults listen. So I could give instruction and actually get the image to look the way I wanted it to for them, and start being more intentional about the messages that I could send. So then people will say, don't you get bored taking pictures of people's faces? But no, because it's totally different for every time. You're helping them send a message about who they are, and the challenge isn't clicking a button. The challenge is getting that messaging from their face and being able to, promote what they want to say to the world and get people to look at them based on that image that they have. So I've just found it's so much fun. It's really passionate. And then I also get basically to have my own master class with the most amazing people in Fort McMurray every time I'm working.
Right.
So it's just invigorating, really.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what you do is tough. There's no doubt about it. I think a lot of people take it for granted in regards to how hard it is to take a photo. In regards to I can't take a photo to save my life. And so I go around and I have a camera and I do video work. And when I'm at jobs, people are like, oh, while you're here, can you take some photos too? I'm like, yeah, no.
Right.
I'm like, no. And then people are like, come on, man, you're here. I'm like, listen, you have no idea how bad I personally am at taking a photo.
And I think it's because you see the difference.
Yeah.
Taking a photo is really easy, but taking a photo well is different, right? It's like a lot of things. There's so many things you can do, but it doesn't mean you can do them well.
That's it.
And we're all our own worst critics too. So I feel like, you look at it and you go, oh, I could have done that better, but it's going to help you get better next time. And it's like anything, you get your 10,000 hours in or whatever of just practicing and doing it over and over and over. And you start to get better. Yeah. And then people start to recognize oh, this is a little bit different than what else I'm seeing.
Right. That's it. So you were mentioning, and I loved it when you were saying you didn't have the money to develop your film. That's hilarious. But it just goes to show technology has come so far in the last few years. Even doing a program like this prior to don't get me wrong, it cost a fair bit of money to get this set up. But what it would have used to cost, it would have been unattainable for the average person.
Right.
So now you're using a camera that's obviously digital. We had somebody on the show earlier, and obviously if you're in the industry, you like to talk about gear. What kind of camera are you using?
I'm a Sony girl.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So I will say I don't use a camera because I like to make sure that I have my bases covered. So I always shoot with 2 cameras. Okay. And I need that because I'm clumsy. I have drowned 2 cameras. I used to be Nikon. And I found Sony convinced me to come over because the service was so good. So I shoot with a Sony A7R IV, and I just sold my A7R III, and then I have a couple of A7 IIIs. And what's the 4th one? Oh yeah, no, that one I sold. So I have 3 now. Yeah.
3 Sonys.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. I was hardcore Canon, and for this show, actually, Tanner didn't want us to. But we bought 3 Sony cameras. Tanner,
these are Nikons.
Well, listen to the story.
Oh.
So, Tanner, what kind of Sonys did we buy?
A6400s.
Oh,
A6400s, right? All 3 of them crapped out.
Overheated.
I don't know what happened. They all stopped working. So we set it up. We came on the weekend, set everything up. We're good to go. First show, click, 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 simultaneously. Over a 3-day period, all of them died.
No way.
Yup. So now we're rocking Nikons.
Yeah, because Nikon is the best.
So I used to have Nikon,
yeah,
and I got really mad at them. So I was a member of their Nikon Professional Services.
Okay.
And the service used to be really good.
Yeah, right.
And then it wasn't.
Yeah, and so you went for the service.
When I drowned my last Nikon, I took it on holidays, and I'd been using a battery pack, so it's a piece that goes on the bottom, but I hadn't put the cover back on, so there was a little bit of open electrical there, and it got a little splash, and it shut off, and it shut down, and it stopped working. And so I sent it to Nikon, and they charged me full price for a brand new one, even though I could buy that on sale for $600 off at any store. So I made them refund me, and I told them I was really unimpressed with them. And instead of buying that, I bought a Sony to see, and
Loved it.
It was a game changer. Like the focus was so on, and I loved it. And the video for the Sony was so good compared to the Nikon that I had been using. The big DSLRs don't have good video on the Nikon. So it was a year I changed everything over. Okay. And so for me, that is a pretty big investment as well, because I don't shoot one camera, right? So I had sold a dozen lenses and several bodies and switched it all over to Sony. And
that's a huge investment.
It was a huge investment, but it was really worth it for me, especially when I'm doing jobs on site, or like at the airport. I worked with you at the airport on celebrating Flair Air's arrival, and doing jobs like that where you can look through your electronic viewfinder and see what your image looks like without having to worry about what your settings are at all, or even take a sample, is important in those moments where you have 6 seconds to get the shot. And you can't make noise or distract anybody. So that it's an extra bonus and I've just had good luck with them.
There you go. Well, listen, if there's any camera manufacturers watching the show, you can send her some free Sonys, and we're rocking all Nikon, so we don't mind extra gear. Just throwing it out there.
Or, if there's anybody who owns a camera store too, you don't need to own the company.
Oh, that's right. A camera store. Yeah. Anybody who wants to give us camera gear, like the two of us, we'd love to have it. But yeah, Sony, that's the one thing about Sony is like, you got to go all in. Like you got to switch. It's not compatible. It's like Sony, that's
right. Like you can get adapters, but anytime you have an adapter, it's going to slow down the performance a little bit. And so I invest in quality pro gear because I want the best possible. I never want to be held back from what I'm able to produce because I don't have the technology that I need. So I think that running a professional business, you need to have your professional equipment so that you can do the best for your clients. So
100%.
Yeah, and so
100%.
that's what it is. And I've heard a lot of bad things about Sony service, and I have not experienced this at all. Like the first year that I was a Sony Pro member, they sent me Christmas gifts. I got a battery. It was so exciting for a photographer.
You go. Yeah, no doubt.
Some stickers and a hat.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Nice. Yeah, I was excited until they all dropped. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
We could talk about gear all day.
We could. They're probably not too interested.
Well, you never know. You never know. So I didn't know this until you just said it. You are in education prior to.
Yeah, so
that brought you here to Fort McMurray. Let's hear about that story.
Okay, so I'm super passionate about Fort McMurray and sharing about all the great things that Fort McMurray is. And one of the reasons is because when I finished my Bachelor of Education at U of A, I applied to every public school district in Alberta except Fort McMurray Public Schools, because I had heard that teachers couldn't afford to live here, and as single teachers living by themselves. And so that I would either need to have a roommate that I didn't know, or else this was before they had the wage top up as well. And so I didn't apply to Fort McMurray, I applied everywhere else. And funny enough, I ended up moving to Fort Chip. So my first teaching job was Fort Chipewyan, my city kid going into this fly-in community. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But I met my husband there. And so then I ended up in Fort McMurray. And so it's really made me passionate to share how wrong my perception was. And even from then, so that was 2008 that I moved here, 2006 that I went up to Fort Chip. The community's changed so much and become such a family-oriented community. Not that it didn't have family before, but now like family is the main focus in Fort McMurray. And I just want to make sure that other people are not as like misinterpreting what our community is as much as I was back then, because I would be missing out on so much if I didn't live here. This is the best community for what I do. Like the support here is incredible. The opportunities that I've had, like shooting at the airport and getting to do a water cannon over a commercial airliner, like that was the coolest experience. Or going out to site and shooting, shovels in the mine. I've got to be in a shovel taking pictures of a guy operating it. Right. Like it's the coolest thing, and other people don't get these opportunities. And so I just like to spread all the great things that we have and the people here. Like it's not just the next door lady. The next door lady owns a business who is a powerhouse around the country. We have some of the best leaders in business and in the world, and amazing things happening here. And you just get to be inspired by everybody around you.
That's exactly it. Like myself and Tanner actually born and raised here. And it's one of those things when I used to leave, the reputation that Fort McMurray has globally and even nationally, unfortunately, isn't the best. We're not the greatest at sharing like our story. Hence the Mac City Morning Show. That's kind of the the overall thesis of it, my game plan with this is because we're able to put out so much content. Even the clip you just said about how much you love Fort McMurray is with all the positivity, hopefully that comes out of this show, we're able to bury the negativity online. And people can actually find out that, yeah, there's awesome entrepreneurs here, business owners, family. Like there's so much more than just the oil and gas industry here, which is awesome and creates tons of opportunity. But it is a community full of people that live and thrive and like just are normal here.
Absolutely.
Right?
And even within the oil sands industry, I love that if you actually learn about who's doing what in the oil sands, it is not anything like those preconceived notions, you know, that are on the internet if you Google stereotypes.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So one thing that I do is on LinkedIn, I share faces that break the stereotypes in the oil sands. And so I have people who I lately have had a lot of awesome, like, engineers and very cool, like one person was a blast engineer. So she was telling me about how she organized like explosions.
Whoa.
Yeah, so cool. But so I share them on LinkedIn, just sharing a bit about what they do. And it's unbelievable to see the, you know, there's MBAs and engineering degrees, and they have all this experience with like managing heavy equipment maintenance. And then you look at their picture and it's not that stereotypical look. It's, you know, this incredible, vibrant, young, you know, person who's taken this opportunity.
Yeah, that's it. No, it's crazy when you go out to site. I had the pleasure to work out there for a bit, and it's crazy when you get out there and you see that the trucks are bigger than houses, and everything's built to scale. And after a while, it just becomes second nature. But when you think about like the planning and the engineering and the thought process that went into like making every single piece work, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, and the connections though, because I think any community has the opportunity to be great, but in Fort McMurray, like connection is really what makes community. In Fort McMurray, connection is so strong with everyone. Like people say here, you know, your friends become your family.
Right.
And so that connection piece is very strong. And even if you look at shifts, like a lot of my friends who work shifts at site will say, that's my work family. Right? They don't say those are your coworkers. It's their work family. And you look at what they do together. Okay, they're a work family and they support nonprofit organizations. They buy Christmas gifts every year, or they supply the food bank, or whatever that family has decided is important to them.
Yeah, it's actually amazing. Yeah.
It really is.
All right, Tanner. I just looked at my watch, took a glance. It's that time of the show where Tanner's going to put you on the spot a little bit.
Okay.
Get ready for it. It's called the Mac City Minute.
Okay.
So Tanner's going to rattle off some questions for you. Tanner, hit her with your questions, man.
Alrighty, let's do this. Question number 1 for you today is, what is one place you think every Fort McMurrayan should visit?
Oh my gosh, one place? I think every Fort McMurrayan should go up Lake Athabasca and see the sand dunes. Go see Lake Athabasca in general. Like, it will blow your mind that you think you're in Mexico. Yeah.
Question number 2 for you today. What does being a part of this community mean to you?
It's, like I said, it's just like, it's everyone's family. And the biggest cheerleaders. Everyone here cheers for everyone else to do well.
All right, question number 3. What's something you love that people might not know about you?
What's something that people might not know about me?
That you love.
That I love. I have an Oilers shrine in my house. I am a pretty hardcore hockey fan, and I keep it kind of quiet sometimes, but it's a bit ridiculous.
Now the world knows. What? All right. Question number 3 for you. What is your favorite piece of gear that you use?
My favorite piece of gear?
Yeah.
Lights. Light is magic.
All right. Yeah. And last question. What is your biggest influence in your photography?
The people in front of me.
There you go. That's your 5 questions.
There you go. That was good.
Thanks.
Ah, good job.
I'm
All
so
right.
glad you didn't ask favorites, because like a little bit, but it's so hard to pick favorites of anything.
Yeah. Light's a good one though. Lighting's tough.
Yeah. I think it doesn't, like, the whole gear talk, people get into brands and things, but it doesn't really matter as long as you don't feel like that technology is preventing you from being able to achieve what you want to achieve. But light is necessary.
Yeah, I think whatever brand you decide to go with, there's no good, there's no bad. My thing, like we were talking about before the show started, is just getting comfortable and familiar with what you're using.
Yeah.
And you're never going to learn everything, but the more you learn about the gear you're using, the programs that you have, you just get better and better, and an evolution of learning consistently. So,
Right. And I think the biggest thing too is that you learn your own style
yeah,
and what you like, and then it doesn't feel like you're trying to create something that somebody else has done or make it that so that someone else will like it. It's like true to you, and then that's when you really hit your stride.
That's it. All right. Well, we could talk all day, and we probably will talk a little bit more after the show, but that's been close to over our 20 minutes. So thank you for coming. But before we let you go, please, one more time, shameless plug. Tell people who you are, how they can get in contact with you. You're up.
I'm Crystal Mercredi from Life and Portraits, and I would love to help anyone who wants their image to represent their message create that.
Awesome. And how can they get a hold of you? Do you have a Facebook page, website?
Yeah, I got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, our website, www.lifeandportraits.com, or if you look at www.fortmcmurrayphotographer.com, it will take you there as well.
Awesome. Great. All right. Well,
Headshot photographer.
headshot. There you go. That's all right.
It's a new directed link.
There you go. Well, thanks for coming. Really do appreciate it. Everybody at home, once again, thank you for watching. Do appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
I said this. That's another Mac City Morning Show done.